Hey guys, Edward Beck here. Okay, I wanted to tell you a funny story that happened to me on my last 2 days ago on one of my Airbnbs. So I had a guest that was staying at my GameStop Airbnb. No problems. I haven't heard anything. Generally, if you don't hear anything, it's good. And then I get a cancellation notification, and I look at it, and usually that's when I get that, it's from the guest, right? For whatever reason, they found something they don't like. Cockroach came out of the wall or whatever, and they canceled, right? But this cancellation came from Airbnb. So I was like, whoa, okay. So, and then I get an email, and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking like I did something against their terms and services or whatever that caused them to cancel my deal, right? And nope, something with the guest that he did that caused them to cancel them. Now, when they do that, they don't really tell you why. Okay, they don't tell you like this guy did that, this guy did this, or whatever it is. They just say they canceled it for a violation of terms and services. I said, okay. So then I get a call, and they said, oh, we're canceling it because this and that. So it's an email, a call, whatever, right? So I said, okay. And they said, you don't need to contact the guest. We already contacted them. We'll let you know when he leaves the property. I said, okay. So then I get a call at night from Airbnb, like at 6, something like that. And they say that they contacted the guest, and they've been going back and forth with them, and they found out that this guy says he's not going to leave until Friday. And I said, okay. So I said, so what are you going to do? And they're like, well, we're going to keep contacting him, but there's nothing we can do now. It's really up to you. I was like, what are you talking about? You're the ones who kicked him out, and now you can't actually kick him out. You just kick him out on my calendar. And she's like, well, they don't know what to say, right? And everybody you talk to from Airbnb, like, is so compartmentalized that they have no idea of anything past their level. You know what I mean? It's like they have like a call center in different countries, and they teach them like one small section of information, and they don't explain to them the whole picture. Like, I don't even know if these people understand what Airbnb truly offers. It's like they're just reading off of a script. So I said, okay, like, whatever, it is what it is, right? And then, like at 7 o'clock, I get a booking for that same unit for that night, an instant book. So an instant book, I have no control over. It automatically books. Come to find out, when they kicked this guy out, and not really kicked him out, they opened up my calendar. So somebody could book even though the guy is still in there. So then I had to call Airbnb, which takes another hour, right? And explain to this person what's going on. They're like, oh, it's handled by this other department. And then they transfer me to that department. Oh, it's handled by this other department. And then you get to that department and they're not open. So I'm like, okay. So I don't know what to do. So I called the lady. Well, I messaged her on Messenger, and I call and I explained to her what's going on. The lady that booked it, and I was like, you know what? There's some dude there, and for whatever reason, Airbnb kicked him out, but I don't have access to the unit, and I haven't cleaned it. And she's like, well, what do I do? I said, I don't know. And Airbnb doesn't have an answer. I told them to call you to contact you, right? So then they do this, right? Then the lady, she says, okay, well, I'm gonna find another place. And she's like, well, I get reimbursed. And I was like, you should. And then she sends me a reimbursement request, right? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna mess with it because it's not really me. Another hour later, I get a forced reimbursement email from Airbnb because the lady calls Airbnb, tells her the situation. They don't see what's happening before. It's funny because they take so much notes and they're always like asking you all these questions and everything's supposedly recorded, but they don't have any notes on the file as to what's happening and why it got here, and that I had just called and explained the same situation. So they forcibly reimburse her the money that I haven't received, right? Because it takes like 6-7 days. And they give her back her money. She goes and she finds her place. But then they say that they're going to make a permanent, it's going to be a permanent mark on my record as a host because of this infraction of, you know, having a place on Airbnb that's available that's not available, right? And then I get one of those messages for Airbnb support, right, saying all of this as well. So I replied to the message and I'd say, I'm happy that she got her money back. I called you guys an hour before. It's all your fault. You're the guys, the one that opened it up when you knew good and well that the guy was in there. I said, how do you want me to handle it when I didn't even open the account, the calendar? You did. You opened it when you kicked the guy out, even knowing that he's still in there. So she says, well, they don't say anything, and then they come back the next day and they confirm what I said, I guess, with the other department, and they said, don't worry, we removed the mark from your account and so on and so forth. But it was just like, man, it's so crazy how Airbnb works, and they think that like the host is always the bad guy. The host is always the one that's screwing everything up. You know what I mean? So then I send my worker to go to the property to see what's going on with this guy. The next morning, he shows up there, and he's there with his under somebody else's account. So the guy that's there is not even under the account. He's not even the one that reserved the place, right? So they get there, and he says he has to go. He's like, I can't go. I'm supposed to be here till Friday. And he's like, dude, we're gonna have to call the police. So he says, okay. So he's gonna stay one more day and then leave the next day. So we get in the next day and we start cleaning. This guy urinated on my bed, on two of the beds. It's like he stood over the bed and like peed on the bed. He peed on two beds. There's three beds. I guess the top bunk, he didn't want to climb up there and pee on that bunk, but he peed on the two bottom bunks and the two bottom beds. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we had to do a bed sheets, beds, all that stuff, because this freaking guy peed on him, right? I'm like, this freaking guy. So long story short, I'm out because the guy stayed for 2 weeks. I don't think I got that money. I'm out. What is it called? 2 beds and 2 comforter sheet sets, you know, and I'm probably gonna get a bad review from this girl that didn't even stay in the unit, you know, and have to call and be like, hey, you know what, she never stayed in the unit, can you please remove this bad review? So just another crazy story. I don't say there's no solution. there's nothing to take away from it. It's more just a horror story, right? And there's nothing to really take away from it. There's nothing like, oh, this is what I could have done better. Like, I don't see a solution as to how to prevent this from happening. One thing I would say is that next time somebody gets kicked out by Airbnb, the first thing I'm going to go do is check the calendar and see if it's still available, because I'm going to block out those days until I get possession of the unit. You know, that might be the solution. That might be something you could take away with it. But all right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a blessed day. Maybe put in your comments some crazy stories of things that you've gone through. You know what I mean? Like some horror stories that you've gone through. You know, it's October, so tell me your horror stories. All right, guys. God bless.